Hey guys, good morning, welcome back to today's video. I hope you guys are all having a great day. I was going to do this video last night as a bedtime story, bit kind of vibe, but I stayed up too late and I was up all night watching TikToks and then I fell asleep doing that. But it's the next morning, so I'm finally going to do this video at this time. So if you guys haven't seen my last video, I did a chapter 1. I read chapter 1 with you guys, and if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. So in today's video, I'm going to be reading chapter 1, but breaking down what it means, like how it correlates to what happened in my real life experience. So this book is 99% fiction, 1% of it is true. I wrote this book based on my anger of my interpreter, so that's why every day before school would start, during lunch break and after school, I would spend so many hours just writing and writing and writing and writing, and it turns out, and that's how I made this beautiful book. It's really interesting. You guys will love it. So you guys should totally check it. So you guys should check it out in the link in the description. If the link does not work, then I would suggest you to go to my YouTube page, go to the about, and then go to the link where it says book. Click on that, and you should get your own very first copy. So yeah, hope you guys join the journey and get the book, and you guys will not regret it. So before we get started, make sure you guys give this video a huge like, comment down below what you guys thought of this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, so let's get started with chapter 1, a breakdown story. Yeah, so like it's kind of like those rap songs where some people do the lyrics, they break down the lyrics and what the song is about. So basically we're doing that, but in my book version, in author's edition. Alright, so first chapter. I'm gonna try to, like read a paragraph or a few pages and then summarize it and how that correlates to what happened in real life, in my point of view, compared to the story of the character's life in this. Chapter 1, The New Beginning. So on August 14, 2014, it was a rare sunny day in Fair Oaks, Oregon, which was in the northwestern United States, an extensive evergreen forest. Why the city was a evergreen forest, etc. So, school usually always started on August 14 for me, and so Henry talks about how he moved from Russia to America to start a new life, away from the deaf world. He wanted to be in a hearing school, in which his hearing school was Dulce Gelato High School. So in my case, I was born and raised in America my whole life. So my whole life from elementary school to middle school, I was in a deaf and hard of hearing group. I'm hard of hearing, yes, I haven't picked that up yet, but yeah, I'm hard of hearing, and my whole life I was with the deaf and hard of hearing group, and at the end of middle school, I was like, okay, I'm getting bored of being associated with the deaf group, with interpreters and etc., and I thought, okay, I would like to make a tweak to my life, an adjustment, see something new, which was go to an all new hearing school where there was no deaf people associated with my life, no interpreters, no nothing, just like I want to live a normal hearing life. So as we get more into the story, Henry was a curious and adventurous person. He walked up to his house, he loved to wonder. Alright, all this about Henry meeting some guy who murdered some other innocent person, none of that happened. That was just extra fiction, drama. And yes, I'm gonna get to the parts where my life was actually, where there was a resemblance to my life, how the book correlates. So yeah. So on the first day of school, Dulce Gelato High, Henry takes his first steps into an all-hearing school, whereas back at home, Henry was used to being in a deaf environment. We talked about that, and he joined multiple clubs and organizations, as well as meet lots of different people with interesting appearances and cultures. So in middle school, I surely had friends and I talked to people and etc. But in high school was very different. Not just for me, but for like the whole world. Your high school experiences were very, very different than your middle school life, because when we go to high school, you see a lot of different people with different outfits, different cultures, how they are, whether it's jocks, nerds, musicians, geeks, and goths, and etc., etc. And even people from different countries that dress differently, that go to your high school, and even more when there's no dress code involved. So yeah, that's what the book says, and that's what I've seen in real life. And Henry then moved to a human school where there would be children who would treat him really nice, some really vile. There would be times when Henry would go up to a group of kids at lunch or in class to ask if he would hang out with them. Most of the kids said no because he was too deaf to be around them, couldn't hang around with the cool kids. Can't hang around with the cool kids at times. Students would harass Henry saying, "Hey, that person called you." Or in games they would say, "Go Henry, it's your turn." Or no one said anything, which humiliated Henry because people would laugh at him. And they would laugh at him for doing something completely stupid or random. So in middle school, that was mostly when this happened to me. So in middle school, a lot of kids were more immature, you would say, than in high school, and mean. So I remember going to a group of kids. Sometimes they would be like, "Oh, you can't do this because," like I would try to find new groups to be with. They would say, "No, you can't hang out with us because you're deaf," or something like that, because you have problems. And that would be sad. And also, when they would say, "Go Henry, it's your turn," in games like in PE, when high school was in JROTC, there would be they play kickball, and then some students would be like, "Go Paul, it's your turn," and I would be like, "Oh, okay," and I would run. Mainly my fault because I wasn't paying attention, and two, it's their fault because they're being so mean and trying to manipulate me, trying to use my hearing as an advantage to them to make fun of me, so use me as their weapon or something like that at their advantage. That was not very nice, and yeah. So I strived to make new friends, and he would be antisocial at times. I was antisocial in the first few years of high school. Then after the second year, after junior and senior year, that's when I became more social. I wanted to talk to people more, and etc. Although there was this one particular person that always stood up for him and taught him really good valuable lessons, relationships, advice, and a tutor for most of his classes. She was basically a friend to him, and that was his interpreter, Becky Malone. Not only was Becky Malone a strong, independent woman that thrived to help others, but she was an international contractor. So I had an interpreter in the first 2 years of high school, and she was really nice, and her name was Vicky Long. I am saying her name because I mentioned it in the acknowledgement, so I can go ahead and say it. But yeah, she was really nice. She always helped me with schoolwork, with homework, with schoolwork, with class assignments, homework, relationship advices, and etc. She would, like, I was antisocial, but she was the reason why I could stay antisocial. Like, because I had her as a friend, I felt like I didn't need to have to waste my time trying to go out and make new friends, because I just already have a friend, and there's no point. So I already had a best friend. Although I had some friends, but I still liked her as my number one best friend. And yeah, she always helped me with everything and always stood up for me when there were bullies in class and etc. And it was really nice. I liked her. It was amazing. All this other thing that I said about her was not true. Like world top famous stars, government, etc. Some of these were true. She did interpret for government agencies, doctors' offices, obviously. Not world pop stars, but yeah. I didn't know about her family at all. I just put extra emphasis on Becky's life, how her family was a privileged family, and there were the Malones, and they were such a powerful family, interpreting philosophers, anthropologists, astronomers, and even mental health activists. I just went very far into the life of Becky Malone. And yes, I never knew where Becky's life was from, but I just mentioned how in the story that Becky came back from her country where she was assigned to interpret for, and she came to our hometown in Fair Oaks in Dos Equilata High School, home of the Porcupines. Yes. So on the first few weeks of school, Henry was struggling to make new friends and try to speak the American language as much as he could, but at the same time he was shy but outgoing. He was mostly happy because of the fact that he thought he was in an interpreter-free zone, but little did he know there was an interpreter named Becky Malone waiting for him in his first class period. So I don't think it was the first week of school, but I remember when I would come into school in the first week or the first day, and I was super shy and didn't know anybody. And I remember going to the cafeteria, and then I saw this one guy who was really cool. He was a JROTC commander or platoon sergeant or whatever, and I would be friends with him, and I had a good time. And then the first bell rang, and I was like, okay, there should be no interpreter, so I'm super excited to go. So I went to my first period English class, and then I would sit, and the teacher would be, introducing herself and etc. And then 5 minutes later, an interpreter would come into the class, and my whole world just froze. I didn't want her to see me or anything. I really wanted to put a book over my face or something, and I didn't want her to see me. Because I knew she was an interpreter, because interpreters always wear black clothes, because especially if you're white, they wear black clothes so that you can see their hands more. So when they interpret, and if they're black, they would wear I think they still wear dark colors. I don't know, they probably wear lighter colors. I'm not sure. I've never really had a black interpreter. Probably in elementary school, but that's about it. Oh wait, in high school and college I've had one black interpreter. Yeah, he would wear white or colorful colors so I could see his hands more. But yeah, they always try to show their hands more, so they match the colors, the contrast of their face. It's not a race thing, it's just, I don't know, it's a policy, I guess. So yeah, my interpreter came in, and she asked the teacher, I'm here to see Paula Mooney, I'll be his interpreter for the rest of the year. And then the teacher was like, oh yeah, sure, it's right there. And I was like, oh great, in my mind. And then the interpreter introduced herself, and then I introduced myself. But in the inside I was like, oh, kill me, whatever, because I didn't want to hear. But yeah, he tries to stay quiet throughout the entire time as much as he could. Consequently, he failed due to the attendance sheet what the teacher's going through, and they introduced themselves, and yes. Alright, so this is where I talk about my middle school life. Henry always hated interpreters, especially the interpreter that had been so mean and strict for almost his whole middle school life. And even the students in his school hated his interpreter, and her name was Suni Vrat. I don't know why, but I love picking names and love making things associated with Russia, just because America dislikes Russia, and I just thought Russia would be good as the enemy. So, Russia. My middle school interpreter, I did not like her. I had the worst 3 years of my life. When I had substitute interpreters, those would be way better than having substitute teachers in my case, because the teachers were always nice, very nice. In my middle school life, substitute interpreter was super mean and evil. That when I had a substitute interpreter, it would be like a cry for help, and they rescued you. More like I drew a big SOS, and then the interpreter came and replaced the evil interpreter. But that was only for like one day, which was a great day of taking a breather from my evil interpreter. I will not expose her name as much as I want to, but no. Let's see, when the interpreter caught Henry and introduced herself as a contractor, Henry Filofsky, he felt that his life was over, but at the same time tried as hard as not to expose himself. Alright. Alright, so this is the second interpreter. After Becky Malone passed away and I had to have a second permanent interpreter, she was the evil interpreter. My second evil interpreter, way worse than my middle school interpreter. So, in the book I said that the interpreter would not only keep an eye over Henry throughout the entire school day, she also chased after kids that breathed funny. Soon he would threaten kids with many different huge demerits whenever she would assume they breathed funny, or even when Henry tried to have a social life with his classmates. Soon he would take her twice pierced snake tongue and yell at him to get back to the seat to do the work, regardless if he was done. Suni and Janice Motair, two different interpreters, they did that. But Janice Motair was way worse than Suni Bro. So yeah. Even though Janice Motair, my evil interpreter in real life, which was Kelvin, she did let me go to have lunch early before the lunch bell rang, which was the only super nice thing she's ever done. But yes. So my interpreters, my evil interpreters in middle school and high school, they would, like, every single day when I would come to class, which I literally haven't even put my backpack down, and they would be like, so did you study for your Friday's test? Did you do your homework? Did you do this and that? And the teacher hasn't even gone, the teacher never really says these things because we're supposed to be mature and already know these things, regardless if we were the worst kids in the entire school. So my interpreter would be like, act like the assistant to the teacher, like she was the co-founder of this classroom and she had to manage the kids' life and etc. Like we're her employees, you know. Yeah, she managed. She was like a dictator. She always dictated people and etc. Especially the students. When I was socialized with students, and also there would be a group of kids that would be in the back of the class talking, not paying attention, and etc. And the interpreter would literally stop interpreting for the class. She would stop, walk around to the class, and literally tell them, "Hey, you should not do this and that." She would also threaten kids to give referrals, and when the teacher was on the computer, because you know how some professors, they get very, a lot of students would take advantage of some of the professors that are like older and they don't notice what's going on around the classroom. But this interpreter was like some kind of owl, a security guard, and she would see a kid secretly walk out the class and the professor would not notice. Like there would be criminal student masterminds that would easily get out, but because of the interpreter, he failed. And the interpreter would just be like, oh, this kid ran away. Oh, this kid just that. This kid's doing this. This kid's doing this. And she would give them referrals, detentions, and this and that. She would even report them to the principal, and etc. Just be happy. So all these teachers that you've had in your high school, middle school life that were bad, I am going to one-up you with my interpreter. So yeah, my interpreter was the worst. Let's see. Yeah, so Becky would only interpret what the teacher said, and then went back to her things like reading a magazine, talking to the teacher. She would even go on her phone. So my favorite interpreter was literally the chillest interpreter ever. And the only time she would talk to the students is if the students were making fun of me, bullying me, and etc. And you know, when the students cross the line, that's when my interpreter would jump up and talk to them. But whenever the students are talking and they're minding their own business, or the professor's doing his own thing, kids are running out of the class, or whatever, this interpreter would just mind her own business. She would literally just interpret and say, okay, he knows what he has to do. Now she would literally pick up a book from her purse, start reading, go on her phone, look at her Facebook or whatever. She would not care for the world unless it had something to do with me and the teacher, and that's it. She was like, do my job, and period. My other interpreter, no, she has to do this, worry about what the world was thinking, including me. And she put me in the center of everyone's attention, and it was always the bad way. So yeah, that was the difference between the good interpreter and the evil interpreter. And yes. Suni was ironically portrayed to be a nun that was always narcissistic, abrupt, and always felt superior. She never gave Henry liberty, space, patience, nor to the other classmates. That's exactly what we were just talking about for the past 2 minutes with my evil interpreters. Yes. Yeah, Henry became known all over the entire school, got involved in so many activities. Yeah, that one's fake. I was not super popular in high school. Surely I started a silent witch club with my interpreter. I was in JROTC, I hanged out with the super cool kids, and etc. Yeah, I got a lot of bases. I've talked to a lot of people, but I've only faked it till I make it. I was only with the cool kids because I wanted to be with the cool kids, and I wanted to be with, like I was always forcing myself to be with the crowd. But to be honest, I kind of feel like I was just faking until I make it. But I liked it because I learned a lot about these people and learned about how to be social and whatnot. Because if I stayed antisocial, right now I wouldn't even be making YouTube videos, and I would be not even doing business, and I wouldn't even be talking to people. And all these people that you've seen me collab with, they would have never existed. And so every single person that you talk to in life will either be a lesson or a blessing. I've gotten a lot of both, but mostly lessons, especially in high school, which is why I'm able to talk to anybody that I want, and able to collab with a lot of people that I want to talk to with and collab with on YouTube. And that's how I'm able to sell books in front of people in person, and that's how I'm able to do a lot of things. So if you guys are antisocial, try to make at least one friend. Try to at least go out and talk to someone and say, well, not now, because we're supposed to be practicing social distancing. So like in the next month or two, try to go out and make a friend, and etc. So yeah, it should be exciting. Yeah, and just it's because it's not a good feeling to be alone, and yeah, you guys want to go out to talk to people and etc. because it's good for life and etc. So pretty much everything that is said here. Henry has 4 siblings: John, Sam, Alex, Megan. John is the oldest. I put sisters and brothers. I've never had brothers. I have 3 sisters, and I'm the oldest. But yes. Yeah. I put a prayer there, the story, because the family is Christian and I'm Christian, so I decided to add a little bit of meaning into the story. So yeah. Plus the story is 1% real. Okay, so this is the part where Henry lives with the most amazing family in the world. He talks about his friends and how they go with him to Bora Bora and then 7 school. So Henry starts his sophomore year, goes to biology class, and Becky's running a little bit late. And then they both talk about how their summers went, and then Becky was like, and then at the end, Becky was like, oh, so I have this job with this Italian. I have this job from my agency about this Italian client who just moved from Italy, and she had to interpret for him, and etc. That part is true. So I was in my sophomore year, that was my biology class, and then my interpreter, she was a bit late, and then she would tell me this news, and she said she had to interpret for some kid from Italy, and there would be a new interpreter that would come and replace her for her, and so yeah, and then this interpreter comes, and I was like, and she was like, this interpreter comes, she was actually short, she wore a black outfit, and she looked really weird, and she was mean. I mean, she wasn't mean, she looked very, I don't know, like serious, and yes. So she comes in and we introduce ourselves and etc. And then I had goosebumps and etc. But the only truth from this entire page, I was talking about how Becky said, if this interpreter ever mistreated you, you can call me and I'll go punch her or something. But she said it jokingly, and I was like laughing. And yeah, the rest of the mean parts that I said in the story, how she was a monster, Becky died, and this and that. It's all fiction. All fiction. That's the start of chapter 2. Yeah, so my interpreter, after Vicky Long, she left the doors in my JROTC class, then my other interpreter started interpreting, and then that's what happened for the rest of the 3 years. And the 3 years, 3 crazy long years I've had to bear with her. So I remember I was in junior. I tried to get rid of her, but that didn't work. I tried to go to the assistant principals, the principals, try to get rid of her. Didn't work. The counselor too. I even texted the superintendent to get rid of the interpreter. That didn't work. I got 800 people to sign a petition to get rid of my interpreter. That didn't work. So what I did was I wrote a book. And I'm making money off of this book that I tried to get rid of my interpreter. From just saying, oh, can you please get rid of my interpreter? But I'm actually happy that I got to this point, because if my assistant principal or my principal said, okay, we'll just put a check and your interpreter's gone forever, I would have never gotten to this point. So I'm actually happy that my interpreter got to stay an extra month or 2 before the end of the school year. The last 2 months of pure annoyance and anger, and yeah. But literally the last 2 to 3 weeks of my school, my principal finally decided to let go of my interpreter, which was super happy for me, but it didn't really make sense because I had 2-3 weeks with her. But yeah, she left, and I had the last 3 weeks of happiness and etc. So yeah, that was pretty much the entire breakdown of chapter 1. I'm not going to do a breakdown for the rest of the book because it's all straight fiction. The first book was about as close as you can get to my real life experiences. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for chapter. My battery died. So yeah, make sure you guys check the book and the link in the description. And if you can't check the link in the description, then you can go to my YouTube page and then go to about, and then press the link where it says book, and then you guys should get your first copy of the book. So check it out. And also, once you guys get the book, make sure you guys tweet it to me on Twitter and then put hashtag unknown interpreter, and yes, so that way we can spread the word and etc. Share it to your friends and family, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.